so on and so on. And that's like a, just like, another first pass of just saying, see what is being collected by Harvard and why. And the items in the collection, not so much as like a whole catalog of literature, of the written word in the world, but as a collection curated by Harvard. And what are the trends in that? So this being just a broad scope version first. Maybe I can also talk about this one here, which I did an animation. This is just one frame from it, where I looked at all of the early modern records of Harvard, starting in 1400, and using just all of the cataloging data of where they were published. That, of course, being a kind of nebulous thing.
And the publication date.
And the publication date. So
also a nebulous thing.
Right, exactly. So when it starts, it's 1400, and it just starts popping up each item as it is as Harvard as they're published.
As they're published, right?
Yeah.
Right,
and
right.
so, for example, I mean, if I had this running right now, it would pop up first, kind of in lower Germany, and then some other stuff.
And then in Italy and so on.
And then, so as these go on, this is at about 1500, so 100 years into it, and I do it from 1400 all the way through 1700, and just to see the explosion of not only the early printing, but where Harvard is sourcing their early printing. So Venice becomes like this enormous center, which I'm sure it was, but I would imagine that's a little bit misrepresentative. I imagine that probably southern Germany still might have like some kind of larger collection or something, but maybe it wasn't all concentrated in one center. And these are just kind of like suspicions I have, but me not being like early.
But you would think that Italy, wouldn't have them concentrated in one center either.
Right.
Actually, but I wonder whether there's data that traces in some.
Right. I mean, the next step is to start to ask questions about what these, what kind of substructure you might find in these data by looking at the individual items. What kinds of artifacts are kind of propagating across this broad swath of all records. And what we have are all records in this data set with publication dates between 1400 and 1700 mapped according to place of publication. So thinking about what different kinds of phenomena manifest in individual records that have a publication date between those dates. I mean, not always are they going to be what we think they are, necessarily.
And for example, so like some of the earliest items are in Rome and Leipzig, and which to me seems a little bit surprising.
Well, this is before the press. The
right, this is true,
yeah.
I first started at 1440, being that amount of time, and then I just kind of rounded out the center, which may have been a mistake. But then there are huge gaps, even with what I'm representing, in that there are tons of manuscripts from the Arab world and from China and whatnot that I'm not presenting here yet, anyway.
But you are covering manuscripts then as well as the book.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's probably another distinction I need to make. These are exactly the kind of questions I need to know, because I'm not really thinking that at first, anyway. But so that's another example of just like from the large quantity of data, just the kind of representations that can come out of it.
The tasks.
Yeah, I hear that.
That's really nice. That's a processing.
It's actually it's a video now of
It's a video.
something that was done in processing.
Oh, okay.
It takes
So
a while.
it's already a
processing.
video.
Yeah,
Perfect.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
This is like some of the thing, one of the more exciting ones, and you can start, faceting this. Maybe it's color coded by what language they're printing in.
Right.
That's an interesting thing. Is that
Yeah.
at first it's all Latin, and then you
Right.
start to see local variations.
Nice.
And then
Yeah.
some Hebrew is still in certain locations, and that
If we could get the data, it would be interesting to facet it by acquisition data as well. I mean, it's going to be hard to do, but it would be fascinating because I think you'd see structure over time.
Or some of the like size. There's sort of issues about like the actual material aspects of the artifact would be super interesting. Like where do suddenly small formats appear?
Exactly.
It'd be phenomenal.
Yeah. And I wonder whether you could get access to the data that's in the short title catalog for Incanabis. tabula
Oh, yeah,
and put it
Yeah.
in here and then.
Yeah.
if there's a, right,
Yeah, then you have a total picture, but you can
Right.
also see what Harvard did
yep,
with that.
yep. There is an electronic
There is
version
an
of that, of
electronic
course.
version of
Yes, there
it?
is.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
question is whether it has an API, whether
Right.
it's the short title catalog is essentially the bibliographic record of record for early printed books.
Yeah, yeah, that,
The ISTC.
yeah.
And the question would be whether you can access those data in the ISDC programmatically. In other words, could you get this program to talk to those data as well and draw them in?
I find it hard to imagine that you can't these days after,
Yeah.
it's the way librarians
Right,
recorded
right,
stuff.
right. Yeah, I mean, it might be the case that even if there isn't like a public API, it's possible to talk to, the technical team managing the resource and get access to data sets.
Really nice work, Travis.
Thanks, man.
And what did you do have you done any computation with the growth of the circle?
Oh yeah, it's no longer just adding a radius, but it actually is like adding a unit of area. So it actually is representative.
Right, a unit of area.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the Venice doesn't get that big.
Yeah,
Right, right.
exactly.
So it's like adding a pixel to the whole circle instead of adding a pixel to the circumference.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah. So I think I had like 1/200th of something. I forget what it is exactly, but it's a unit like that.
Right. Yeah, that's a good solution.
Yeah.
And so ultimately you could break it down and show, in Venice, what languages were in
Exactly.
and when they started
Yeah.
to print on other languages.
Mhm.
So,
You might think about having two simultaneous views, so one is the map and then also a graph at the
timeline,
same
yeah.
time. So you can see simultaneous perspectives of the data, rather than trying to kind of show all the
Intuit it all.
data on
Right.
on the map. The problem
Right.
with the map is, because you've already made space equal space, it's very hard to like add extra data on there, and
Right.
which kind of, that's interpreted in terms of space, so
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of room to work on.
Mm.
So yeah, having a timeline at the bottom or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yanni Lukisis, by the way,
Yeah.
the medal line.
yes, yeah.
And then, another idea was along this timeline, just generally, where this is basically just a base timeline that you can scale in and out of, and change the relative scale of it. You can pan back and forth through time on what to plot on it is the question. Yeah. So I've done, and you can search by keyword into the API. You can make live queries into all records that deal with, in this case, Egypt, let's say. What's going to be most interesting, I imagine, is to kind of visualize the material aspects of items through time about a given topic or on a certain subject
Yeah.
or in a certain part of the library, whatever that is. I'm not sure what it is yet, and I'm not sure what those physical characteristics are. One version I did, which was this image over here, which was just doing page counts of items through time. So I did Thomas
Oh,
Jefferson.
that's interesting.
And it's not aggregating page counts right now, so you see them overlaid a lot. So
Right.
you can see where it's darker purple, that's where most items are, but then still the height of here is the relative number of page counts.
Right.
It's still not the most usable thing in the world, but it gives you an idea. I had another, since you can grab spot